Screen is visible, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just hold on. I'm just sharing it again. Okay. So, basically, like SOC is the most, what we can say, the most demanding profile right now. So there are a lot of openings in the field of SOC. Even freshers can start easily with them, starting with L1 position, L0 position, and everything. And the reason that it is such in demand is because a SOC analyst is expected to learn or know almost all the technologies that may be related to your malware, that may be related to your network vulnerability assessment, forensics, incident response. I mean, we'll go into that details, everything, but basically, SIEM is already there, and SIEM is a tool which every organization is nowadays a compulsion for everyone. So if you see any organization, be it corporate, or it may be some banking service, any financial institutions, any educational institutions, or it may also be related to any of the product base. So even if company which has any product, right? Now they may be selling their antivirus, or even if we see any day-to-day regular products, like maybe Apple organization, Samsung organization, any such organizations which has its own network, they'll have their SOC environment. And now in India as well, for any organization, especially if they're financial organization, it is required that those organizations should have, uh, their SOC profile, SOC environment. Now that SOC environment may be in-house or it may be outsourced to any other services, but it has to be there. And there are certain guidelines also that SOC environment should follow. So all these are there now as a part of audit as well. So, it is kind of a compulsion for all the organizations to have a SOC environment. And, because of that, there is a huge demand in, the roles of SOC. And this is something that, it is also there in out of India opportunities also there for this role. Countries like Gulf countries like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and all those, there are very much high demand for that. I am also, working currently in that, and currently I am at L3. I'll tell you the different positions and what does this mean. So yeah, and all these, what you can say, I have working in different profile. Most of that I have worked in SOC. So I think SOC is something that is also kind of safe, because it's not like you have to go in depth of that very much technology. Let's say if you're working in malware analysis, or you're working as your profile is a malware analyst, so a malware analyst should able to dissect and get the root cause of everything. But at the same time, SOC should have the overview. They might not want to do it hands-on, but they should be aware of all the concepts and everything. So SOC, even if it is safe, it is very much demanding. Mostly you should know all the technologies, all the vulnerabilities and everything. You should be up to date, so that you can you know protect maybe your own organization and your client's organization. So we'll get into details of that. Mostly we'll try to have the first two lectures on theoretical, but then we'll move on to the practical as well. But yeah, so we'll see this, what exactly is SOC, then what are types of SOC, SOC team roles. Then we'll move on to SIM. We'll understand what is it and how it works, what are its capabilities, components, what is the architecture, and what is the use case. What use cases are there that needs to be deployed. So coming to SOC, so it is a centralized facility for a team of information security and specialists and IT professionals who analyze, monitor, safeguard, and organize an organization against cyber attacks. So basically, by centralized facility, what do you mean by that is all it, all the what we can say, uh, it will monitor basically everything, your whole organization, and what we can say, all the devices, it may be your database, it may be your servers, network devices, all are there, and what we can say, the whole organization basically revolves around this SOC, and the role of the SOC analysts are to analyze and monitor and safeguard this uh, whole organization, and prevent cyber attacks from that. So basically, they'll continuously monitor your network traffic, internet traffic, your desktop servers, database, endpoint devices, applications, and any other IT assets for indication of security event and handle incident response. So basically, incident response is also something which now SOC is expected to handle. That is also a different profile actually. Incident response is where all the incidents are handled, right from the beginning to end, and any if incident happens, then the root cause is root cause is found out by the incident response team. But now SOC is very much integrated with the incident response team, and as I said, this SOC team works 24 by 7. So the SOC team will 24 by 7 they'll monitor the traffic, what if there are any alerts that are there, if there is any abnormality that is seen, and they'll monitor all the your network devices, everything, all the endpoint devices. By endpoint devices and application, it means like anyone antivirus, XDR, everything is there, that is managed or monitored by the SOC team. Yeah, so basically, and also in any organization that has its own SOC, or if they're providing SOC operations to their clients, then a dedicated SOC room is there. And there will be having the big screens and everything where the alerts and alarms will be displayed, so that it is also visible to everyone other than the analyst, that if there is any major incident that is observed, then anyone might see it. So basically that is where this is where kind of that environment that is built, where all this room is there, dedicated room is there, provided, and then all the alerts and everything are displayed on the alert, on the big screens and everything. uh, And SOC are the key strategies for minimizing cost of data breaches. So basically, you do the monitoring to avoid data breach, right? So it is kind of an investment for any organization to to have a SOC, and they help organization respond swiftly to instruction, constantly improve threat detection and prevention methods. So whatever threat detections are there and what are the alerts are there, so it is a continuous process of improving the threat management and everything. So basically they have these main functions, which is maintaining inventory of the available resources. So any organization which has its and like whatever devices that are present in that organization, inventory is available. Okay. Uh, Inventory is basically there. It includes your all the devices of network database and everything. So these functionalities towards the SOC, that they have to maintain the inventory of all the available resources. What are the what we can say devices, or servers are there in the environment, that has to be maintained by that, and that has to be monitored. So which comes to a second point, that continuous monitoring of all these available resources. Alert prioritization and management. So, what are alerts and everything that we'll see. But basically, by alert, by any alert that is, configured to see the what we can say any for the any of the alarms or any use cases are there, and then the prioritization and everything that has to be, managed by the SOC. Threat response. So whatever the uh, whenever the alarm is triggered and everything, what are the how is the threat response of of the SOC team, and how that should be tackled, that everything is managed by the SOC also. And what are the recovery and remediation? So let's say if any of the attack happens and the alert alarm gets triggered, so at that time, it SOC should provide the recovery and remediation. They are the responsible for that. Log management. So I'll tell you what is log exactly is log. Okay, when we start into the same, you will understand what log management is. Root cause I already told you. So if any of the attack happens or if any of the alert gets triggered, it is important to have a root cause investigation for that, and that is also part of SOC operations. Forensic investigation. So if any incident happens, so there is a forensic investigation. Usually, not all the SOC have that, provide that functionality, but still now there are some SOC as well that are providing this forensic investigation as well. So, a forensic investigation is basically where suppose an incident happens. So let's say ransomware happens. So, forensic investigation includes, all the details like how did it happen, why did it happen, why, what is the reason? Was it internal breach that happened, external? If it is external, how did it happen? Internal, then what are the steps to, remediate that, to limit that? Uh, all this basically comes as a part of forensic investigation. Compliance, I already told you, right? Now, there are a lot of auditors, like, RBI audit is there. So banking, if you're in a banking sector, there are all, audits that are going on. So there is RBI, for example, RBI audit, then there are some other audits as well, which, checks that, that all your banking sectors are monitored, and, they are they are safe. Reason is basically, now let's say, if you're a banking sector, and banking sector involves what we can say financials of the common people, or the civilians. And if what happens if someday some attack happens on any banking sector, all their money will be lost. So for that reason, the government has appointed that RBI body to make sure that this chances of any cyber attack has is become minimum, or it make sure that it does not happen that easily. So that is why the RBI will do all the auditing and everything, and make sure that they are compliant to whatever they have their points. So it is somewhat the what we can say somewhat functionality or somewhat a responsibility of SOC team. Now let's say any organization or any banking sector have their database devices, and they have to make sure that all these database devices are monitored and all the rules are getting triggered and everything. What do you mean by rules? I'll tell you. But basically, they are alerts. So all that comes as a part of compliance, and that should be carried out by the SOC team. So there are SOC key roles. Okay. I told you, right, different positions of SOC. So there is level M. L1 means level 1. So there is usually L0, L1. Now, usually there is no concept as L0. There are usually L1s. Then there are L2, L3, and then there is L4, which is CISO. So the SOC, I mean, the security analyst is the SOC analyst, you can say. They are usually the first people to respond to an incident. They are the first line of defense. As you can see, they are the front fighters, and their role is to identify threats, analyze them, and rapidly respond. In addition, analysts may need to implement security measures as specified by the management. Usually, that does not happen. So basically, as for to you to understand, yeah. So basically, like your L1 is the one who does the 24/7 monitoring of the incidents. Usually, now let's say if you guys decide to go out as start your career, or you get any opportunity of being in the SOC, or you guys your own decide that you want to go to SOC, then you will be working in L1 level at the initial part. So that is there 24/7. There are shifts that you have to work in and everything, and usually they are the first people to respond to this because they are doing the monitoring. So if any incident occurs or anything, then they'll check that and respond to it. Now, let's say if any alert occurs at the night, then it is responsibility of that L1 to check that alert and then provide mitigation steps and everything, and make sure that all these are carried out by the expected team. So that is why they are said to be as the front fighters, or first line of defense in an area organization for SOC. Then comes your L2, which is senior security analyst. Those are activated when L1 analysts discover severe threats or large-scale security incidents. So let's say if L1 finds out that any incident has happened or anything, a big or not incident as such, but any alarm or threat that they see, and in that case, then they need some maybe experienced analyst to look into that and see if this attack is genuine or not, or if it is genuine, what needs to be done and everything. Or customer sends something and they want to check that and do the analysis of that attack. At that time, L2 will come into picture, and L2 will provide all these details. So whenever, what we can say, and a bit of expert level advice is required at that time, the L2 will come into picture. Apart from that, there are also different roles and responsibilities of the L2, which includes doing the integration and everything, and also uh, what we can say, maybe creating reports, and somewhat meeting the day-to-day activities that are also different part well too. But majority, as per the what we can say, a basic role or key role is by the analyst is the uh, uh, analysis, or escalations that have been done from the L1 to look into this. They create plans to fix damaged assets, protect other assets, and work to eradicate the threat. So they have to mitigate or eradicate the threat. Then comes your L3, which is security manager or security lead. So depending on the organization, there are two types of positions. One is security manager and another is security lead. They are considered to be as expert, or more experienced as compared to L1 and L2, who will proactively search for things if any vulnerabilities are there in the organization. Also, they'll make sure that all the technologies that are deployed, that are uh, utilized 100%, and make sure that the security is on the it is basically developing day by day. So this group includes specialists like compliance auditors and forensic investigation. But other than that, this is again what we can say, kind of subjected part. L3s are also basically where I am, I can say that I am L3. I'm a SOC lead, not security manager, but a SOC lead. So what I have to do is I have to basically manage customer, present them with the meetings and reports, do the on the same part. I have to, make sure the alerts are getting properly triggered. I have to see that rules are getting fired, the integration is getting done. Technically you have to be, a bit sound maybe to make sure the uh, because sometimes what happens is if any incident occurs, L1 and L2 may both not be able to handle it. So then you have to also, handle that. You have to check on that. You should be good with their analysis. That may be, some kind of, let's say, if any continuous high incident are getting triggered, you have to check what is the reason. You have to find different, do you have to do the log analysis and everything. Yeah, so your concept should be strong. So whatever that we saw in the previous lectures, right, regarding the networking part, network scanning, then your ports, which are ports that are vulnerable, which are the ports that should not be exposed to the internet. Then if there is any system related hacking that is done, social engineering that is done, phishing concept that we saw, all these, you should be very as a L3. Of course, like now we have learned as a part of your course, so somewhat you will be familiar with all this. So even if you join as L1, you will be quite uh, handy with that concepts. But coming to L3, this kind of incidents or anything that you should handle that maybe not be able to handle by L1 or L2, that happens because of less experience, or the less skill set, so they might not be able to handle it. So as a L3 you have to be, you should be able to handle that. And also all the integrations or the handling of the same devices and everything, that also you need to do, and make sure the customer requirements are cleared. So that is all the L3 related role. Then comes the CISO, who is will be the kind of the main lead, or main head of the security operations. So as you can see, his role is Chief Information Security Officer. He defines and oversees the organization security operations. I told you, like, he is the head of the organization security, and they are the authority on policies, procedures, and strategies in all areas of the organization's cybersecurity operation. So, if there are any policies that needs to be, implemented, any procedures, strategies that are required to implement. So, let's say if any organization is currently handling that much of alert, then how it can be more easily handled, or if there are actually threats to the organization, if there are some policies that are required to be implemented, if you want to implement new technology, new devices. Now let's say currently you are having AV and you see your organization expanding, and if you see threats are coming a lot, you may want to think of switching to XDR as well, or including XDR as well. All these steps needs to be taken by the CISO. In some organization they also manage compliance, but in others they have separate team to focus on these tasks. So some of them, CISOs in some organization, they are expected to have the compliance part as well, the auditing and everything, but usually it is having a separate team. So this is about the key roles. Now there are basically different type of SOC model. Now what do you mean by SOC model is how the SOC is deployed. So first is in-house SOC. So an in-house SOC is an operation center that is run by the organization itself. So let's say there is an uh, organization, one will take is product based, which may be, as I previously took the example of Apple. So Apple is an organization. So and they're selling a product. So what will happen is they'll basically have their own SOC. I mean, Let's say if they're having their headquarters in maybe USA, so they'll just have their uh, uh, SOC deployed at the USA location itself in their own building. They'll and that team will look into their own technology itself. They uh, they won't outsource it. They will take care of their technology and they'll have that their own SOC team. So yeah, that is as I said, is located on the on-site of the organization premises on-prem. So this is something on premises, which is known as on-prem, and has direct access to organization hardware system and network. So they'll have access to all the tools and everything that is there into their own environment. Okay. And yeah, this is how usually that is done. It not maybe necessary only to product related organization. Some of the organization now, let's say that maybe Tata Communications, that is our company. So they do also have their own SOC who will look into that. Now they don't outsource or they like the Tata Communication will also have their own SOC team that will monitor and do the look after the organizations on what we can say own SOC environment. Then comes SOC as service. So in SOC as service, there are also two different types, subtypes. So but we'll see what is SOC as service. So basically, it is a security operations center that is provided by external provider and usually services multiple clients virtually. So I gave example of Apple. Now let's say there is some other product. Now maybe Samsung or there are some companies like ICICI Bank, HDFC. What they'll do is they'll outsource it because for them they don't think they have the expertise to handle that, and they don't want to invest in cost and everything, because having an on-site SOC is basically somewhat as a part of expense, because they will have to deploy, as I said, environment of SOC. They'll have to purchase a SOC device, SIM device. Then they'll have to include all the experts into that. Then they'll also have to include all the other tools and everything, basically. So for that reason, companies like maybe who are financials or financial institutes, they'll try to outsource it, or maybe take service from companies who provide them the SOC services. Now let's say our company, which is TCL, they provide these SOC services. So they'll see that if any service provider is there, they'll provide their outsource their uh, environment, and they will ask the TCL to look into their SOC environment, or basically they monitor their environment and make sure that it is what we can say it is safe, and it is no issues are there in the SOC environment. In this model, the security personnel and technology are located off-site, where the organization contacts with the provider to monitor and respond to potential threat on its behalf. So as I said, like they'll have this, and it is not so they like now ICICI or HDFC companies, they don't have since they in their own uh, environment it won't be, or in its location it won't be there. Some of the cases it is there, but not all of them. Now, it may happen that a big organization, like let's say I was working in Vodafone, uh, not Vodafone, but the Vodafone was the client. So at that time, I was, working in IBM, but my client was Vodafone, and we were sitting in Vodafone's office. So there are some exceptional cases where the uh, uh, what we can say, client asks the to vendor to sit into their location and monitor it, but otherwise usually it is not the case. Usually you have to outsource it, and it is not on-prem, it is off location, and it is monitored to through some connectivity. Okay, so that is how that is usually done. And yeah, this organization then monitor those environment. SOC as that is your SOC platform provider may still require on-prem support in some cases. That usually that support can be handled by the this we'll see in in later part. So basically, even if it is not on-prem, but may some support will be required by the internal IT team. How we'll see that. Now, in this also, there are two types of, SOC. One is dedicated SOC, and other is shared SOC. Okay. So now, dedicated SOC in the sense, like one example I gave you, right? IBM was having the client as Vodafone. Now that was a dedicated. Now that dedicated line in the sense, what is meant by that is that SOC was dedicated only to the Vodafone, only for one customer. So this is more beneficial if you're having larger organization. So if any organization that is vast, or that is having a big network, at that time it is very feasible, or important to have, because they'll have lot of what we can say uh, lot of traffic that will be there, lot of alerts will be there, a lot of devices that are there to be monitored. So because of that, it is important to have a dedicated SOC if we are having a large organization. If you are having smaller organization, then there is what you can go for is known as the shared SOC, MSSP. So MSSP is where this SOC service is handled by using cloud capabilities, and multiple organizations are managed by it. So basically now let's say if there are 50 now 50 organization, 10 organizations that are all handled by the one SOC team. Now let's say ICICI Bank, HDFC, LIC, Bajaj. Now that so all these may go for the MSSP if they want, don't want to, have their spending a lot, and they think that their organization is basically not that, on the larger part. So in that case, they will go for the MSSP. Now we'll see what a SIEM tool is. So SIEM tool is basically where, I mean, the full form is Security Information and Event Management. These are the solutions that are centralized tool that collects logs from various devices, like network devices, server security. This I already told you. I'll show you how it is. Okay, it collects raw logs from end devices, and then those are parsed. Okay, let me just first show you how basically, uh, you know. So let's say if you have your different devices. Now this is your network devices. But network devices, what do you mean is router, switches. Okay. Then you have your other devices like maybe your firewall, load balancer, those type of devices. Then you have your uh, uh, servers. Okay. Linux server, Windows server, application server, any kind of server. Then you have your database system. Okay. Then you have your uh, tools like maybe uh, antivirus tool, EDR tool, etc. Then all these logs are then sent to your SIEM server or SIEM tool. There are different types of tools like ArcSight, Splunk, QRadar, Logarithm, and there are more other tools as well. Most of the tools, usually, previously it was ArcSight that was, widely used. Now, uh, slowly it is replacing by QRadar or, Splunk. Splunk is something that is also there, widely used. So these tools are getting replaced now. Logarithm is also one of the tool that I'm also using, in our organization. We are using the logarithm tool. So what happens is uh, all these logs will be sent to the same server. Okay. Same server will do the monitoring of those, will do the analysis of those logs, and based on those logs, all the alarms are. Now, what do you mean by log is basically what I'll tell you is now if you go to event viewer of your system, you will see over here in Windows logs, there are security logs. See, over here you can see log on. So log on, sorry. So if you log into your system, event will be generated. The event ID is 4624. If you enter, maybe this won't have any much of the logs, but there are some other logs as well. A security enabled group membership was enumerated. That is something related to your group policies. This won't have different types of event. Usually it will be login and log off. But yes, such kind of events are there. These are basically your logs. There are system logs. There are application logs. Now application logs won't be anything as much. Only the Windows logs will be there. Then there are mostly, but security logs are which usually are we concerned about. Other than that, if something like shutdown and everything happens, this is where all the events will come. Now, uh, this you are seeing of Windows logs, right? Now, all the other devices as well will also have their own logs. Now, in firewall, you may see logs like any configuration or on the policies is done, any traffic that goes to and from. All these logs are there that are there on the firewall. That needs to be monitored. Then in network, say, let's say if any policy, changes are there, that is done, then that logs are there. Same goes with your EDR and AP. If any alert is observed or any alert gets triggered, any signature gets triggered, IP signature gets triggered, all these devices comes under the log, and like all these will have their own logs and that are sent to the SIM devices to monitor. So, that is what the log management was that, all the devices will have their own logs. Maybe those particular devices won't be as much as useful if you are storing them on that their devices because same server has its own, what we can say, a log storage. Okay. So, everywhere, like in any of the tool, uh, of the same tool, you will have that log storage device, which will store logs for a maybe defined retention time. Some organizations may want it for 1 year, some organization may want it for 2 years. So based on that log retention period, the logs are stored onto that particular uh, what we can say particular storage. So that is sometimes called as mostly indexer. We'll understand that in deep later on. But like for that now you to and basically all these devices don't have that much of storage to store. Now let's say a Cisco router, so it won't have that much of memory to hold it for 1 year or so. Or same thing with our servers as well. Now if you see and look onto your Windows server, you may not find data of maybe more than 6 months back or anything. So for that reason, log management is done by the SOC team, that is done through the SIEM. So they will store their logs onto the storage location, that may be your indexer or any other tool. So yeah, this is how the log management works. Now another thing to understand is basically now your Cisco firewall, Cisco router, your Palo Alto firewall, your Windows server, your Linux server, all will have different types of logs and all will have their own format, right? So to, and as a part of, when you are trying to analyze the logs on the same, it is not possible, right, to analyze it in different format. You have to have one good format. Otherwise, I mean, the alarms won't get triggered. You won't be able to understand the logs. So basically, parsing and normalization is done. So these two concepts I will see in the later part as well. I'll tell you how it is. But basically, it is also important that these logs and everything are parsed and normalized. See, yeah. So all these events are correlated to create an alert based on rules. So events in the sense the logs that we saw. So whenever the logs are coming, that time they're correlated to create an alert. How that is done, that I'll explain in the later part as well. The logs received from devices are stored for historical searching of the same logs. Just the one I told you right now, and it enables real-time monitoring and keeps logs for compliance and security or forensic perspective. So these are kept for long time, basically maybe for year, 2 year or something like that, and they're done for the maybe compliance of security and forensic perspective. So how this works is basically there are four main stages uh, of SOC. So first is a collection of data from various sources. So, I told you, right, the storage, collection of data from different devices, that is your network, firewall, and everything. Then combining of all such collected data, you have to combine all this data. Then next process is starting, examining the data to discover threats. So, next is you have to basically uh, uh, start analyzing that data that is there to discover if there are any threats or anything. And then you have to identify security breaches and alert organizations about such threats. For a successful implementation of the SOC process, we need to have an active security team in our organization. It also requires involvement of the whole workforce of the organization. So, if you want to implement a successful SOC operation, or you have to have a good smooth SIM process, we need to have active security team in our organization. So, why it is said that it requires the involvement of the whole workforce of the organization. Let's say if any alert gets triggered that is related to uh, a Windows server, and Windows server does not take it seriously, or does not respond, then the whole point of having that SIM setup or the SOC setup gets failed, because the actions are not taken. So that is why a SIM or a SOC team is taken very seriously. If someone from the organization or someone from the SOC team responds, or informs that this needs to be taken care of on priority, then the organization's department, or the CISO, what we call as, they will immediately inform the team, and based on that, they have the concerned team needs to take action on that on priority. Yeah. So what are basically SIM's capabilities? So we'll see this in detail also. Just we'll go through this now, and okay, I'll tell you in detail and explain you how what does all this means. So basically, first, capability is obviously alerting. So alerting in the sense, when these are something that are there based on your logs. So now, if let's say uh, I have set some rule now, maybe I have created a rule where uh, if any traffic that comes into your network, which is a malicious traffic, and that is observed into your network, then alarm gets triggered. That alarm is your alert, and immediately when the alarm gets triggered, that is notified uh, uh, to the or maybe your SOC team is first notified, and through that everyone is notified, maybe using your email, then your ticketing tool, everything. So even there are some capabilities where it is sent on your mobile devices as well. So all this is done as a part of your alerting part. Then dashboards and visualization. I told you right in the beginning that in the dedicated SOC room is there, and all the big screens and everything is deployed on there. So over that, in that big screen, all the dashboards and visualizations are present. Uh, when we say practically, we will understand how this is. But basically, where it will have a dashboard which shows maybe top 10 attackers from external source. Uh, then top 10 login failures of users, how many alarms are getting triggered, which alarms are getting triggered. All this will be displayed on the big screen maybe, and this is something which SIM is very much capable of. And this is something a useful feature of SIM, that it provides a good dashboards and visualization. Basically, this helps to easily check and notify, take taken look into that, basically that particular log or alert. Then compliance is there. So I told you right, there are different governing bodies and standards are there, and according to those standards, the compliance needs to be taken care of, and that is taken care using same device. So it gathers basically compliance data, producing reports to adopt security, governance, and auditing processes like for standards like HIPAA, PCI DCS, HITECH, SOX, and GDPR. So these are basically some standards and governing bodies, governing bodies, and for them, based on their compliance data and everything, they have this what we can say, uh, uh, reports and everything are created based on that. Retention. So I told you, right, the logs that are stored. So that is your retention. And based on the customer requirement, that retention period is decided. It may be 6 months, it may be 1 year, it may be 2 year. Then threat hunting. So threat hunting allows security staff to run queries from multiple sources via SIM data, filter, and pirated data. Yeah, so even threat hunting is a part of SOC. So threat hunting is basically which is proactively searching for alerts and blocking them before they enter your environment. So let's say if I'm monitoring a customers that what we can say environment, or I'm providing service as SOC for them. At that time, there is some dedicated team also who is working as a threat hunting, and what they'll do is basically they will look for any threats are there or not on based on the third parties, and third party tools and articles and everything. They'll look for the IOCs, and they'll proactively block it so that the attack is stopped before it enters your organization's network. So this is also kind of great capability of the SIM, which helps to proactively protect your environment. Incident response, I already told you, right? So provides use case management, collaboration, and knowledge sharing around security incidents, allowing team to quickly synchronize data, communicate, and respond to a threat. So incident response is basically a team which is responsible for uh, mitigating or addressing an incident from end to end point. So starting from if any incident comes, then it will follow up and take mitigation steps from the concerned team and make sure the incident is getting closed. Then now moving on to from traditional, there are some what we can say uh, next generation capabilities that SIEM have, which is UBA and SOAR. Okay, UBA is your user and entity behavior analytics component. You can say capability. Uh, it goes beyond the rules and correlations, and it leveraging AI and deep learning techniques to look at the pattern of human behavior. Now, what do you mean by that is by giving an example, I'll tell you. So let's say if you are a user in an organization and on daily basis, usually you will log on to three systems or three servers. Now you decide for some reason to log into one of the other server, a new server. At that time, you this component, it will see some unusual behavior in this, because this is not something that you do on regular basis, and it will generate an alert that this user has login. Basically, the reason is uh, because if you're doing something, then your usual pattern or usual behavior, there is some abnormality that is seen, then it will easily immediately notify uh, the team that there is some unusual behavior that is seen. Same thing. Now I'm logging through VPN, and every day my location showing is India. Now for some reason, sometimes it may happen that I am using some other VPN or something like that, or actually I'm traveling. But it may also be reason that there is some attack that is going on, and my user ID is in login from other location other than India. Then in that case, uh, that particular UBA will identify that this is something unusual behavior. It is logging from some different what you can say different maybe different location. So this is something as an unusual behavior, and it will again generate a alert for that. So this is how the UBA works. Then there is SOAR. Okay, I'll explain you what SOAR is basically. Uh, Now consider this as your SIM. Okay, and uh, there is some monitoring tool. Okay, so now and this is the L1 team that is monitoring the uh, this SIM device. Okay, this L1 team, where it is monitoring this L1. Sorry, this alerts. Now in this, it may happen that there are maybe alerts are getting generated in minutes. Okay, now you're handling an organization which has a huge data. Okay, and or a high number of devices. So in that case, what will happen? What used to happen now? This is something that is what we can say uh, a new feature or new capability that is being added to the SIM, as a part of SIM service. Now, uh, as L1, it is very difficult to address all these alarms, all these alerts, and it is high possibility that this may get, somewhat missed. So for that reason, what happens is basically, what will happen? Let's say if you have a tool, which is your maybe ITSM tool, that is your ticketing tool. Now, whenever the alert gets generated, okay, uh, this alert will send it, it will directly create a incident in your ServiceNow or any of the ITSM tool. And this tool, I mean, this will now let's say here alert gets triggered of successful login from malicious IP, or Windows brute force attempt. So whenever this alarm gets triggered, a use case will be created in this, and sorry, a ticket will automatically get created. Okay, usually what used to happen is when this before SOAR, L1 used to monitor all these alerts. If they see any of the alert, then they have to create the alert, and then they have to fill in all the details and create a ticket in ServiceNow. But this is basically eliminated, and now instead of this does not happen. Basically, then the uh, incident are directly getting created in SOAR. Then L1 has to decide which team it needs to be assigned. That part is only remained uh, with the L1. So this is basically somewhat reducing the overload of work that is happening on the L1, and that is where the SOAR is helpful in. So the full form is security orchestration and automation response. Uh, Go by the definition, that is next gen SIEM integrate with enterprise system and automate incident response. So the example is what I told you just now. So SIEM may detect an alert for ransomware and perform contamination. Yeah, this is a other party. Now, what happens is basically uh, this is there are two levels of SOAR. This is L1 level, okay, where a ticket gets generated and then the L1 will assign it and everything. Now we'll see another example which in our organization it is present. Okay. Now on a same, eh, this is- now let's say on a same device. Okay. This is SIM server and alert gets triggered of successful communication, or malicious IP communication. This alarm gets triggered. Okay. Now usually what will happen is uh, without SOAR, if SOAR is not implemented, what happens is basically L1 will receive that alert. It will create an ticket in the ITSM. Okay. Uh, Over here it has created ticket in the ITSM service now. Then it goes to the network team. Network team over here, suppose it is a firewall team. It will do is it will check that, and it will then block that IP on the firewall. Now what will SOAR do? And then again, then it will again revert to the ITSM team and mention that this IP has been blocked. Then the team will check and then they will close the alert. L1 team will close this and check this and close the alert. Because of SOAR, now what will happen is they have not only created, it will automatically create this alert. First of all, as I told you, right, it will directly create an alert into the ITSM tool, and without, you know, uh, uh, what we can say, interference or requirement of the indulgence of the network team, it will go and directly block this alert, okay, on the firewall, and then it will also resolve that, saying that the IP has been blocked. This is how the SOAR will reduce the overall workload, as well as you know it will also what we can say, uh, basically reduce the response time. So, it has eliminated all the steps where the analyst will check this and then open the ticket. Then assign it to firewall team will check and then, close the ticket. I block that IP, then respond to back to the team that we have blocked the IP and then it will close the ticket. All this is eliminated by SOAR. They'll directly create the ticket, block that IP, close the ticket. That's it. No human intervention is required in this. So basically, reduces the overall load. Same thing. Another example we'll take for SOAR. Again, let's say this is SIM. Again, SIM, sees a alert of uh, ransomware and or malicious file by AV, and that is then this is deployed by SOAR. Now what it does is again the same thing. It will create an alert in the ticketing tool. Then that ticketing tool will basically directly it will create. Then from there it will be sent to the AV. On the AV it will be directly blocked. Okay, AV blocked, and then uh, it the ticket is closed. Another example of how automation works. So this is something that a new edge or next gen SIM tool is capable of. Okay, so we'll see what are the components of some SIM now. I'll explain you how the parsing and normalization happens, what is indexer, processor, and everything. Can create that picture, the integration. This is your network device, servers, firewall, database, AV, XDR, all this. This is your SIM. Reduce the size. This is your SIM. Okay, and we'll also have this indexer UI. So now first thing I'll explain what is normalization. Okay. Uh, now first I'll tell you is parsing. So parsing is basically where now what happens is you have to have the logs into human readable format. Okay, and it might happen that logs are in this way. Okay, date, whatever the date is there, then it will be time, then event, source IP, destination IP, uh, device action, etc. It will be in one line. Now, basically not only it is difficult to analyze, but it is also not possible to create rules on based on that. So that for that reason, these are created in data format. So what do you mean by that is basically it create logs. So now what happens is It will, for example, take an example to just to understand, for you to understand, this will be broken down into Excel format. So we'll have one column of date, then we'll have one column of time, then one column of event, then one column of source IP, one column of destination IP, then action. This will be having all the different types of, fields, and it won't be in one single line. So that is what the parser's work is, basically breaking down of events into logs. Okay, if you see here itself, now if consider this coming into one line, or this is how the audit is looking right now. Sorry, the events are looking into this right now. Okay, now imagine if these all are coming into one line, you won't be able to create any rules or anything, right? So for that reason, these are divided into different fields. Okay, and one is normalization. Now, what do you mean by normalization is basically, now let's consider a Cisco router, okay, and consider a Palo Alto firewall. Now, what may happen is basically Cisco router may first have event, then it will have device action, then it will have time, then it will have source IP, destination IP, then it will have some other fields as well, policy or something. Now, Palo Alto will have first policy. This is just a hypothetical and random example that I'm doing, but that is how it works. Okay. Not necessary that this is how it follows, but I'm just giving an example. Then it may have source IP, destination IP, then action. So basically, my point is this, what we can say, device and this device have different types of logs and different types of log structure. For understanding of us and for understanding of same, you have to have one common format. Okay. Now, in ArcSight, it is CF, which is common event format. Splunk has its own. Remember, we'll see how what it is because we are going to study Splunk also in detail. So, it is necessary to have one common format, and that common format is basically which is done as a part of your normalization. So normalization is responsible to make sure that all these events are coming into one format, and based on that, we can do the analysis, and SIM also can understand what kind of rules need to be created and in what format it needs to come. So that is the, what we can say, responsibility of SIM, and normalization is one of their component. So, when we say that we have, integrated all these devices into SIM, at that time, parser is deployed at one of the component. We'll also see the architecture and everything. Maybe tomorrow we'll see, because we'll see also use cases for that. And then all these are parsing is done at one of the component. Now, to let's say we are these devices are sending logs, okay, then all the parsing and normalization happens at one of the component, then uh, once logs are sent to the indexer for storing logs, okay, and then one is sent for the GUI to monitor it. Okay, I'll show it as a indexer logger storing of logs. and this is maybe your alerting or monitoring. This is your log collector, which will do log collection, normalization, and parsing. All this is done at one of your component. Now I'm not giving exact name of the component because each SIM tool has its own component name. Basic working remains the same. Okay. One will collect log. It will do the parsing and normalization. Then it will store the send the logs to the indexer for storing the logs for retention period. And over here it will send it for the alert and monitoring. Okay. In logarithm, it is this component is called as system monitor. This is called as indexer, and this is GI console. Nothing. It's in Arcside. This component is called as this thing. What is it? Just hold on. Forgot the name. Log. Sorry, connectors. So this will call as connector. Here it is called as logger, and over here it is called as ESM, that is Enterprise Security Module. It is used for monitoring the component. Fine. Okay, so you can see the SIM architecture. Okay, so SIM architecture is basically where I told you, right? This is something which there is a server which correlates the engine, and all the agents are, these agents are your system monitor agent or connector agents and everything. This will send the logs from different types of devices, and then all the parsing and everything is done. One copy is sent to the database and another is sent to the front end for monitoring. Same that I explained to you right now. Now, I told you that we integrate these devices and everything. So how do we do that? Okay. How will you collect the logs? How will you get the logs into the SIM? So there are basically two methods. One is pull method, another is push method. Okay. Pull method is where the agent fetches the logs. Okay. From the end devices like Windows or DB using connectors. This method is common for Windows devices where logs are pulled from the event viewer of the end devices. This is done using customized ports. However, port 445 and 135 is common for Windows users. Now, you might get, overwhelmed by this, or, some confused might be there. Now, we saw the event view, right? And you can see over here, there is an option from connect to computer. So basically, using this feature, all the logs that we saw are pulled by the agent. What is agent now? Agent is something which collects the log. Okay. Again, I'll explain you. Suppose we'll see this in details as well and in practical as well, how the logs and everything is there. But first we need to understand the concept of the SIM before going directly into the practical. Otherwise, you won't be able to understand what exactly are we doing and what exactly are we seeing over there. So this is suppose your Windows server, and now to what we can say, uh, to fetch the logs, or to push the logs, basically uh, you need an agent to maybe to collect the logs, basically, and this agent is your SIEM agent. This is your SIEM agent. This agent will now for Windows, what it will do is basically it will uh, pull the logs. Okay, it will pull the logs and it will then store the logs and send it to the uh, what we can say, to the uh, indexer and whatever we saw as in GUI in the front end. So this is how it will do. Okay. This is usually done as a part of using the ports as 135 and 445. Okay. Uh, this is your indexer. This is your UI interface front end. Okay. Now same thing. Now consider a Linux device. What it will do is it will forward the logs instead of this is your Windows and this is your Linux. So instead of pulling the logs, this will basically push the logs. So what happens is whatever the logs that are stored onto the Linux devices have the facility or the configuration method which it will say that we can push the logs onto the SIEM agent. It will, it has some rsyslog file. Through rsyslog file, we just need to mention the host IP of the system agent, and then port usually used is 514, and from this it will send the uh, what we can say, it will send this logs onto the SIEM agent. So devices like maybe Linux devices, firewalls, or any of the other AV tools as well. These are all work on the push method. Windows database may work on the pull method. Fine. So usually this is done using port 514 on UDP. Okay. We will see, tomorrow how the exact, pull and push method works. Time is remaining right now. Okay. It will be overloading. So we'll see tomorrow. We'll see. Right now we'll see some of the use cases. Then tomorrow we'll see the architecture and how exactly the pull and push method is configured. Otherwise, what we'll do is, instead of going into use cases right now, we'll just see the uh, configuration method that are there. That will be easy. So I told you in this part, okay, this is quite easy. There is nothing as much to understand. Okay, let's say if this is a Windows, sorry, a Linux device, then usually there is some configuration line that is there present. You just have to mention that, maybe what kind of logs that you want to send. So let's say if you want to send all type of logs, then you just need to set dot star dot, and then the IP address of the SIM agent. Okay, IP of the agent, and then you have to add a colon and port 514. Okay, this is very easy. If you are using AV or firewall, basically you just have their, this itself like of what we can say UI itself is there, a facility itself is there. You can just mention the IP address of the agent. The logs are directly forwarded. IP port, you just have to mention it. Same goes for AV. There also you can just mention you have to enable the syslog forwarding, select what type of logs, and then you just need to enable the uh, syslog by adding the IP of the same server and the port. For Windows, there are few things that are required. Okay. Now, first is basically, uh, yeah, but before that, there are prerequisites as well. Just, directly entering is not enough. Sometimes what you need to check is first is that device is supported by that SIM or not. Okay, sometimes what happens is your SIM device does not support that particular device. So if that device is supporting that, you need to check. Then you have to enable the connectivity as well. Whenever you're probably were giving an interview or something, and if this question arises, these prerequisites you need to mention that we have to check the connectivity is there or not. We have to check the port is open or not. And then if everything is fine, then uh, then going ahead, you need to follow the document for configuration, which is known as log baseline document. And that log baseline document mentions how they need to configure it. And then over here, you can say what they can forward it onto their SIM agent. Okay. Now for Windows, there are some additional steps that are present, because, it requires a pull method is basically something that requires some extra efforts. Okay. Now, what all you required is basically first, again, you need to check the connectivity. Okay. I'll mention over here what are things you need to do. First, check connectivity between SIM and Windows. If not there, enable the connectivity along with the port, maybe 445 or whatever the port is there, default port is there for 445135. If not, customized port is there, enable connectivity on that port. Then then next you have to once the port is opened and everything, you have to create a domain service account. Okay. Reason is for this domain service account, you will need, so whenever, let's say, I'll show you why. Now, whenever you want to pull the logs, basically it is done from this event viewer. Okay. Whenever you are putting, let's say I am putting 10 dot 100.5.1 connect as another user, that time I have to mention over user the username and password. Okay. And that username and password is where I'll need to have a domain user account. Okay. I can't have the one that is there for the default one or the administrator one for the user. I need to have it on different one for the SIM. And this is one that is there for this. You need to create a user account, a domain user account. This user account need to have permissions for your uh, at least read only permissions needs to be have on the what we can say on event viewer. Okay, to view this event. So basically, whenever your account is getting created, it is very important to have this facility that you can view this event. So sometimes, like, you will just create a user account, but with you don't have any permission. So this will be blank for you. You won't able to fetch the logs. So this is important to have. and it should have non-expiry password. Okay. Then after that, it is also important to have RPC service enabled. So whenever because this is pulled, the logs are pulled using the remote procedure call. That is your RPC. So that for that RPC service running needs to be enabled. And then whenever you want to do the integration, then at that time you will need to mention all the details, like provide details in SIEM, which is your user account, password, IP, port. All this needs to be mentioned on your SIEM server when you're doing the integration. If all is there, you can easily do it over here. This is how the integration works. Fine. Same goes for database. So database either works on pull or push method depending on your type of deployment. But if you want to the database integration for pull method, you will need to have the database name, database query from where the log needs to be pulled, and the query for that. So that is a different part. No need to go in such details right now. This is just the basic one of Linux and Windows. That is fine. Even the other devices like firewall, antivirus, everything, the configuration is pretty much simple. Fine, I think we can stop here. Any questions from your end? Oh, if you don't have any questions, we can conclude. Tomorrow we'll have class at 8:30 in the morning. I think that is already informed to you. If not, I'm informing that for this session, for this lecture, we'll have it at 8:30 to 10:30 tomorrow.